started. Thank you for coming out to build many applications inside of GD Edwards EnterpriseOne. I'm Donnie Law with QI Systems, and along with Jamie with General Growth Properties. And we're going to kind of go over today our system that we have in JD Edwards allows you to build these many applications without writing code. You know, we worked in JD Edwards many years, and you think about it, you got to go in, you always got to write code, you get a screen, get something out, and you think about how you got to do package builds and get things out, and it usually takes you a couple of days. With the module we're going to go through today, and Jamie's going to go through some examples how we use this at the organization, and how you can build those applications without any generating of code, and pretty much handle probably 80, 90, 95% of what you need out of the box. And it kind of gives you a place to put this data without having to write code to do that with. You know, the long-term JD Edwards users, you know, you always got to build a table, you always got to build a screen to hold something in the system. This is a way you can do that, and you can have this as a platform to build off of. So you can take this as a core piece or core program and build off of that to build any more elaborate applications outside of that. So we're going to talk about a few of those. I'm going to kind of go through what our tools are that we use for this, and then I'm going to turn with Jamie, and she's going to kind of go through some of the actual examples at General Growth Properties. If you have any questions, feel free to ask your question, very informal as we go through. We'd love to answer your questions. We'll hang around at the back as well once we're done, and we can go through some more detailed questions there as well. Also, I'll bring it up too, we do have a booth here. We're at 5:30, so if you want to come by afterwards and see us, you can come by there and we can go into more detail as well. All right? So we'll kind of kick things off. The two applications that we have that we use to kind of build out these applications, what we call our application builder. Pretty self-explanatory, easy to remember, application builder, and our flexible calculation module. We'll kind of go through application builder kind of first to give you kind of a flavor of what that is. It's basically an application where you can build applications or virtual applications. It has a set of tables, has a set of business views, business functions, a lot of functions built into it that as you go through and you create things in the system, it kind of builds these things on the fly. It doesn't build new tables, it builds virtual tables. And if you think of, if you're familiar with the UDC tables, how you can go in and create as many UDCs you want, that's stored in basically one table, that's kind of how our system works as well. And you can create these unlimited grids and versions. You know, how many use Excel to track a lot of data inside JD Edwards? And you've got it all outside and you want to bring it into JD Edwards. This actually what it kind of looks like. It kind of looks like a spreadsheet type of application. So you can create these unlimited grids and versions. You can format the grid data similar to a spreadsheet. You can take a column that's inside the spreadsheet and say, I want this to be an address book column. And it instantly will build a relationship with the address book and does validation against the address book and gives you the visual assist. So when you first go in, it's just a generic column, doesn't do anything. You can add this to the column. So you want to make the column a date column. Then it brings in the JD Edwards date formatting, and that also based on what you have set up. So you can set these up as you go. You can perform calculations inside of these grids and have access to all JD Edwards modules. So just like in a spreadsheet, you want to be able to add up some things in a column, or you want to do some type of calculation in that cell, you can do that right in the grid without writing code. So if you want to do some type of summary calculation, like you have in some of your AR modules, you can build those kind of on the fly as you go through. As I mentioned, you can format things with different dates. It's integrated to our flexible calculation module. Now, I'll go into a little bit of that. It has a query tool built in, allows you different queries to pull data into the application builder as you go through, and I'll show you an example of that. You can create row or form exits. Again, without writing any code, I can add a button on the screen that says I want this button to go to, say, address book, and then I can actually map it and say I want you to make it a row exit, and in column D is where the address book number is going to be. When you click the button, it goes to column D for that row you're on, and it passes it to the address book program, and then you've got your link built. Yes?
This is something inside JD Edwards.
Yes. All inside JD Edwards. It's all built in the JD Edwards toolset, so it's all neatly inside JD Edwards.
You have to add on something to JD Edwards?
What's that?
You have to add a tool?
It's its own system code. It's an add-on for JD Edwards, yes. And it has its own system code, which is Q60. So it's an add-on module. You can add calculations directly into a cell. You can format columns, numeric date. We kind of talked about that. You can add UDCs to a column. So if you have a column that you want to create a custom UDC, or if you want to put dock types or whatever you want to build on there. We use this a lot for sales commissions, rebates, other things, just anywhere in J.D. Edwards. You can link that column to a UDC, and then that UDC Visual Assist is available, and the validation is already done for that column. You can customize the header text. You go into Excel, you got your ABC across the top. You can actually, on the fly, you just click a button, go in, and says, I want column A, the address book number. And I want column B to be the name. And I want column C to be an amount. Whatever you want it to be. When you save it, come right back out, you'll see those column headings change to be whatever you typed in for it to be. So it allows you to kind of make this into an application as you go. You can use it more like a spreadsheet, or you can actually build it into an application as you're kind of going through it. So here's kind of what the generic screen looks like. There's a few other setups. When you initially create one, at the top, there's an application name and a version. I just showed you a generic one here. It kind of looks like just a plain spreadsheet when you go in. And it's kind of a blank slate, and you can kind of build it for however you want to. As we go through, we can customize our column text. We can change the text at the top to be whatever we want it to be out there. We can add different types of formatting. We can do whatever you want to do to those columns. You're starting to build this out. Again, this is no code. You don't have to go to IT to do this. This is something as a power user or as a business analyst or somebody you want to give access to, you can have access to build this. And I'll throw this in too, is it ties to all your J.D. Edwards security. So you can do the same security in J.D. Edwards. There's nothing new you have to add. You can have your own role security, whatever you want to do. And it also has security features built into it where you can specify that some of these are private type of applications. So if they're only for finance, you can't get somebody else to come in and look at them. If you want to set them up as a read-only for certain groups, you can actually specify it as a read-only. And if you don't have the type of access, everything comes up in here. It protects the grid and the buttons, and they can't really do anything but just look at the data. And you have the same features with your customized grid, your import, export. You still have all those features like you have in J.D. Edwards now. We have some customers using this right now as a nice supplement to if you use Cafe One. So if you use Cafe One inside J.D. Edwards in some screens, you can use that to link to a custom app that you built here. Link that to, we use it in Lease Master. You can use it in sales order, work orders, wherever you want to use it at, to kind of link it together to hold supplemental data out there that has more data you want to keep in the application. I think we do this in the rebate application as well, where there's another set of data that wants to be able to track that information. You can build it in this and attach it out there. Okay, a couple of things real quick. You can set up user-defined buttons. As I mentioned, you can add buttons to the screen. It's just a form exit, go out. I'm going to set up my button. I'm going to put my text in there. I'm going to put the program name, the version, the form, and it's going to create the link to that program, and you'll have it as a button right away as you're building this out. I'll show you just some of the attribute screens we have. At the bottom, you can bold, italicize, you can color code things, you can set things up as a date, you can put how many decimals are in a column. It's going to be numeric, and it's going to have 5 decimals. You can set that up, and it will take that number and it'll round it to the 5 decimals, or whatever you want it to do in creating those columns. You can color code columns. We have customers that use this that have like multiple spreadsheets in one, like this example here, where they got a subset of data in the middle, and some more detail at the bottom. So they just highlight it so they can separate the data inside, like you would in Excel, inside of a spreadsheet. And then the really nice feature that really gives you the power into it is you can put calculations right inside the cell, like we can here. You can do the plus, like you would in Excel, add them up, you can do sum, and you can actually link that to a formula or a query that's in our FCM tool. So I'm going to show you that here in just a few minutes. And then when we're done, here's our working application. We didn't have to write any code to put this together, we just configured it. Now we've got all these buttons that are linked to a sales order quote, to a sales order going out for a customer. They've got all their columns where they're storing all the data. And then we have the calculate, they can put calculations on the screen. And we didn't have to write any code to do that for this application. Now one thing that's nice about it too, like I said, you can use this as a base too. If you want to take it in IT and you want to build this out here and copy the program and add anything else you want to that, you can do that as well. It saves you from building all the programs, all the tables, all the views, all those pieces, all the calculations you didn't have to code. You don't have to put a unique amount of information in there. So you can take something where you can build 80% of it in here and you can add 20% of code to finish up what you're trying to do. And with this, it's all Oracle validated, which I'll cover at the end a little bit. So you're protected on your upgrades. So if you want to come in and you decide to go to the next release level, this is already protected going forward. So when you go to the next release, this will go with that next release as well. So you're protected going forward with Oracle validated in the system code Q60. That's out there. Okay, so now we'll get into the calculation tool real quick. We'll run through that before Jamie goes into her examples. You know, what is the flexible calculation tool? And it's this comprehensive and paradigm shifting module that enables power users to create, manage, and execute basic to complex scripted formulas. That's a lot to say, but it's like a calculator. You can calculate inside JD Edwards, do formulas inside JD Edwards without writing code to do those with, which is what we like to do. We like to give you a way to calculate without writing code. So similar to a spreadsheet macro or SQL script, I can go in and I can create a calculation, I can create a formula, and I can tie that into the application builder, or I can tie that into any other program in JD Edwards. As Jamie's going to go through in her example, we tie this into the real estate module, where it does a lot of calculations that they were doing in Excel from before. She's going to show you some examples there. And these are created at the user level as well. It's not something that you have to have a programmer to write. This is you as the VA or the power user can be trained. It's just a few scripting codes, just like you're creating a macro in Excel. You can pick up the codes that we use, and you can create your own formulas as you go through. And this is available to any module in JD Edwards. So you're not limited. It is a server-based tool, so you can use it anywhere in JD Edwards. And what we find is customers may buy it for one particular feature and end up using it for many other areas inside of JD Edwards. We have one customer that used it. Probably they eliminated all of their custom development and used that for their first phase of their project. Yes, got a question.
Do you have to be on a certain level of JD Edwards to use this?
It goes back. It's validated on tools release 898 going forward all the way up to current 9.1.5. Application release. It's actually we've had it working on 8.11 all the way up to 9.1. So pretty much kind of where most people are at right now.
8.98 for tools will
Yes.
work with this.
Yes. Yeah, there's only one piece in there where in the later tools, you got some of the pop-up windows, they come up as a full form in 898. You just don't have that pop-up capability in there. But you just have that one piece. Everything will work there. And basically, like I said, it's like a calculator. It's going to go through, you can put in formulas, it goes into the FCM, it converts everything to a real algebra expression, calculates it, and passes it back out to the calling program or the application builder, whatever it may be. We have customers use this as well to do all their calculations, so as you have your programs or your reports, they can be generic. They can just go through, pull in data, you can put all your calculations in a formula, and then if they ever have to change, you can go in just to change the formula. You never have to change your code. You can go on the screen, add more features to your formula. You can actually put dates, effective dates on your formulas. So here's a formula that's effective for this period of time. Now we have a new formula coming in, and then you're going to start using that one as of January 1st, whatever it may be. So you can put date-sensitive information on your formulas. Give you a way to kind of do that again without writing code. Yes, you have a question?
So if I understand you correctly, these are working spreadsheets and applications, and you create these on any of the standard JD tables?
Yes.
As custom tables?
Yes, with the query tool that's built in for the calculation of formulas, it'll read any JD Edwards table, any custom table, or any business
Any
table.
changes that we make here is going to update the tables, right?
You actually have the capability to do that in the tool, to send the data back out. If you don't link that up, it just stays in that application. But you can link it up to where you can push the data back out to the JD Edwards table through the FCM formula. So we have customers that's using it to do mass updates. You think about a lot in JD Edwards where, one in real estate where you're doing unit updates. Well, it's an individual screen. You got to go in and do that update, come back out, do another one. You just back and forth. They use this to do mass updates. So they'll have it go pull in all the information in application builder. The user will go through, update all the information by a business unit or by lease. Then they'll hit their update button and it pushes it back out into JD Edwards to do the update. Easy way to do it. You don't have to write the application to do it. You can do it with the system. This is kind of, you have another question?
Yeah, sorry. On the last slide, you have the data sources, any source of data. Can we go to other databases other than the Edwards databases?
It only reads right now, if you, with the tool set, the APIs that you have with the JD Edwards tool set, you can activate those and read other data, but it's specifically to the JD Edwards tool set and what it's opened up to read. It doesn't go outside of the JD Edwards tool set without being able to use those APIs right now. That is something that is on our On our plan for future is to get that outside of JD Edwards, but right now it's kind of focused on those tables we have now. And this is kind of a flow of how you can implement it inside of a JD Edwards module, where the JD Edwards module comes in, does a standard JD Edwards out of the box. It sees that it would see that there is an FCM formula attached to that. Go out, retrieve the formula, do its calculation, calculate whatever that is. It can pull in any data in JD Edwards, pass it back into the JD Edwards flow, and it hits the JD Edwards tables, just the JD Edwards into calculation. We've done this a lot in the sales commission model. You can use a JD Edwards sales commission right out of the box, tie the FCM to it, do the calculation, set up any rules you want in application builder, it'll calculate it, and pulls right into the JD Edwards 42005. Never knows the difference. Predict. Good question?
How is this deployed? I mean, you're saying this is like power users?
It's basically when this is built, it's like a virtual application, like your UDC setup when you build it. So the tables and the structure is already there, and you're basically naming sections inside of an existing table out there. So it looks at it similar to like a UDC table it's looked at. So there's no, when you build these, you don't have to do package build to push them out. They're more like a copy from one environment to the next of the data specific, but there's no package builds you have to do.
So theoretically, power users could do this directly into production?
If they have the security to do that, they could. Yeah. Again, it's all based on JD Edwards security, so it's just whatever you give them access to.
Okay.
I know most of them, like we did with James, we did a lot of those, you know, in our other environments, they tested everything out first, and yes, this is how I want the application to work, do the calculation, then we just promoted it as a copy as part of their IT process. Finishing up here on the FCM, we get to the last, user developer controls how calculation is processed, again on the fly. Provides existing application, expanded calculation capabilities. So you think about some areas in JD Edwards, like in sales commission, like in job cost, like in advanced pricing, where you have it does a lot of good calculation, but there's a few areas that it just can't do without a modification. That's what this gives you the capability to do. You don't have to modify the software, which is, is a nice feature for your upgrades. Eliminate hard coding calculations, where if you have calculations that may change over time, that you think might have new things added to it, or you want to add an existing formula to another type of calculation. It gives you the capability to do that in the system. It can reduce your IT staffing time. They can go, we have customers that use this, again, as that, like a case tool we used to have in World, where you had the tool in there where you could actually build an application really quick as a base and then build off of that. That's what they use this for as well, to build them. Yes?
Now, you said you could use it to update JD Edwards. So, does it by any chance update the update fields, like the last update and anything like that JD Edwards would do?
If you map it to the update, it can update those with the program name, the user, the date, the time, all the stuff. So it's really up to you what you want to send back over into the tables. Yeah, so that's all that's up to you how you configure it. It makes JD Edwards configurable. That's the thing. That's why we kind of wear these KOOKY shirts, and we're the KOOKY calculations guys. So you come by our booth, we have these, and you can win stuff if you want to wear one of these shirts and stand out like everybody else. I don't know, I think with marketing, we have to pay people to wear them sometimes. I don't know why. But you come by, you can get a shirt. But we try to make JD Edwards configurable. We're all working in it. I've worked in JD Edwards for almost 25 years, and as a technical consultant, done a lot of modifications in JD Edwards and thinking, there's got to be a better way to do this other than modifying JD Edwards all the time. And then as customers, we always had to go back, worry about doing it all over again. The next release came out, we needed the features that we had, but then we had to go back to a whole 6-8 month project all over again to get those new features that we wanted to retrofit everything else. So we try to make it easier for you to do that and not have to worry about it on that side. Unlimited calculation possibilities to go through. It's a small footprint, standalone module inside of JD Edwards. Same look and feel as you saw we went through. Putting inside JD Edwards, built in the tool set, gives you that upgrade set. I'll try to get through these real quick so Jamie can have her time to do her piece. Kind of the last part of it, in the tool, which is kind of nice, has its own scripting codes. If you think of a macro, you got your little @ signs and you put those in there, that's what we have inside of our module here. You can reference those. You can pass data into those from any module in JD Edwards. There is some mapping that you have to do, what we call integration points. So if you want to integrate it into, say, payroll, and you want to pass data into the FCM to give you calculations capability, that has a way you can map that into that module, so we can receive the data from payroll and you can do your calculations, or any other module in JD Edwards. You can actually do an if-then-else statement right in the formula. I'm gonna show you one. So you don't have to write code. We actually, one of the examples we're gonna show has an if statement. If it's this generation type, do this calculation. If not, do this calculation on there. So you can set up your conditions there. You can reference a table and a field alias in a formula. So if you know that you've got a value, using a ACO1, a UBC value somewhere, or a category code, you can reference that in a formula and then go read that at calculation time and bring it in and use that value based on the keys that it has. You can reference formulas in formulas. You can embed formulas together. If it's complicated as you want, reference another one in there and be able to use those. You can reference a UBE on a formula. So, and what it'll do, it'll execute the UBE before the calculation it happens. So maybe you have a job needs to go run and update some tables in JD Edwards, or go out and pull in some extra data and you want to use it in your formula. It will execute it, wait for the result to come back, and it can use that as part of the calculation. That's what it is for its formula right there. So you can group or stack multiple formulas together. So you can put them in a group and give them a sequence number, and you can say execute this one first, then this one, then this one, and this one, and you can use the results of those previous ones in other calculations. So you can build off of those. Like in sales commissions is one, where you want to build the commission based off different areas in JD Edwards. You can just build that as you go and come up with a commission amount. You can reference the application version or column from the application builder in a formula. You can retrieve data from any JD Edwards table using the query manager that we have in the tool. So with that tool, I got a screenshot of it. It looks similar to your data selection on the EBE. You can go out there and say, here's a table of business you want to use. I want you to go sum the data out of the 911 based on this selection criteria. At calculation time, they go grab it, pull it in, and they can use that as part of your formula. They're going to go pull out sales for the last 6 months. You can build a query to go pull in sales, use it as a calculation, and come up with some value that you're going to have calculated in JD Edwards. This is one little blurry, I think, on the screen, but right inside there is a formula with an if statement. We have some more on Jamie's. That's kind of what the FCM screen looks like. It's just one screen. You have formulas on the left, and you have some of the details about the formula on the right. And that's kind of how we would set it up. That's one that's going to read through a couple of tables to pull in a specific value into a calculation. Again, we're not writing code to do this, we're just creating a formula to do it, and has an if statement around it. So what it could do, we have customers that use it to run standard JD Edwards, and it only does an override if a particular category code is processed, is populated. If not, that's JD Edwards calculated as normal. If it does have the category code populated the way we want it, it does its own calculation, pass it in, and overrides the JD Edwards calculation. So, kind of different ways to work around it. And this is a screenshot of the query tool. Very simple. You select your table, your business view at the top, what fields you want it to bring back, if you want to, how you want to aggregate it, I want to count it, I want to sum it, I want the highest, lowest, whatever it is, and then you do your data selection at the bottom. And you can use a data selection. It does not have to be hard-coded values. It can be the scripting codes from the previous screen. So you can say, I want to use, I'm going to pull the value that's in table FO101.ACO1, or whatever it is. It can actually use those values as data selection as well. You don't have to hard-code things in there. All right, that covers the tools real quick. Just a real quick rundown. Yeah, another question?
Can we install this software? Is it on enterprise server or somewhere?
Yes, it's for an enterprise server. Just like any other package you would issue, you're going to build, exact same process. It's a bar file, you get the file, you put it in ONW, restore it, do your package build, and push it out to your environment. Very simple process. Same way with updates, you get them in bar files. We have a website you can download updates from. We have a support help desk you can go have access to go out if you have questions or issues or request enhancements. All that's available to you as a customer. Yes?
You said it's a building application, right? Could you also do create different versions of the application using like GCC?
Yes. In that one screen, there is that versions is a drop down. So you do like tabs. So if you have the same application, you have different versions of data for that. You can actually, and you can click the button and just flip through it right there on the screen. You don't have to go out and come back in. You can flip through the different versions of it. And it's unlimited versions you can have. There's no limit to the versions. Okay? Any other questions on the basic tool? All right.
Alright, so I'll tell you a little bit about GGP. We're a real estate company. We own or manage 120 properties. If you've been up and down the strip, we own Fashion Show and also Grand Canal Plaza and the Venetian. Here's our information on what JDE environments that we run. So basically our problem, our pain points where we were doing all our lease billing, or a large portion of it, out of Excel. Especially the recovery, so pro rata real estate tax, common area maintenance, as well as utility billings. So with QIS, as Donnie's talked about, you're able to do Excel-like formulas in JDE, right, and have everything in one spot. So here's one of our current formulas. As you can see, there's a couple there that are pretty long. With QIS, we build it once, we maintain it, and it's a lot easier to read. So what is our goal? Is no more Excel spreadsheets. So again, eliminate the Excel spreadsheets and calculations outside the system, and also give us some visibility into being able to budget and forecast off of one data point, right? So recovery billings, if you don't know, are just billings of common area maintenance, real estate taxes, and utilities. They're complicated because they have a lot of parts with expenses, share factor denominators, exclusions, so on. This is just a standard JDE screen that talks about expense pools and expense classes. So this is where all of the expense come in. And then here's where the magic starts to happen. So the formula group codes and bill codes, this is where we house our formulas. We build the formulas like Donnie was showing you, and then house them here on a lease by lease basis. We have about 70% of standard leases. The other 30% are just things that would not work in base JDE. So with QIS and the formulas, we're able to do the calculations. The formula codes live here, we can audit it, we can make sure that each lease has the right code or formula code. So if the lease only has one, it'll be in the formula bill code. If it has many formulas running to build the calculation, then you make it a group code. This kind of just shows a formula that we have built in there. So there's an if statement.
It's actually the same formula that was on that previous string that was so long. That's what it looks like now in our tool.
So there's an example of a circular reference. So we use the application builder to help with the share factor denominators. The denominators just determine the pro rata share. So for us, EP unit types don't work because our leases are not standard. So we have to use the share factor denominator mapping table to be able to do the calculations. Along with that, we also built our own hierarchy table. It tells the system to run what unit types and when. And we can go in on the fly, say that, you know, a property has a non-standard setup on the way the property is. Maybe it has a lifestyle component or something different than a normal, you know, four-corner anchored property. We can come in here and we can tweak it on a property by property basis, the hierarchy, and then it'll run in a different order to come up with the billing that we need. So if you're familiar, here's the 1538. And it just brings all of the information together. And here's a sample of the new tenant invoice that we've written. We made it concise, so we used to send that 2-page 1538. Now we have all the information we need. We can make it in one quick page, and the tenants have everything they need. Other QIS items. So we also do overage or percentage rent billing. JDE limits you to 2 decimal points. We actually have a tenant that the lease calls for 3 decimal points. So without QIS, we're either manually billing them or put in the 2 decimals, and every time we have unapplied cash, one way or another, sitting out there. We're also going to use it for our budgeting and forecasting to help speculative leasing. So the leasing agents do their speculative deals or say what deals are going to be speculative. We're going to feed it in there to a table and then pull it out when we budget and forecast.
and kind of put that into a process where you think about on a project where you have to go in and define what kind of tables to store that data, like the hierarchy table, and put that into a flow. We'd have to go into a full-blown project really to build all that out. Basically, what we spend most of our time was sitting down like with Jamie and her team was, what do you want the screen to look like, and what kind of information you want to capture? And we could actually build that, in a matter of minutes to say, well, here's what it should look like. Does this fit what you want it to do? And kind of work through that process and do the prototyping through that. Again, without generating any line of code at all. If we didn't like it, we delete it, we could start over with it to do that. Yes?
It appears that this can produce reports as well, like the example you showed, right? For example, but they had all the logos and stuff on it. How did we do that, and where is the output? In a print queue? How is it?
Yeah, most of that was all done with the VI publisher inside JD Edwards. Yeah.
Not using this tool.
Right, not using this tool. We supplied the data to it, and then the VI publisher took it and kind of formatted it nice and neat. They kind of send out the.
This tool doesn't do anything else, right?
No, it's pretty much, it does the calculations and allows you to get the data, and then it just, again, it's inside JD Edwards, so standard BI publisher can read the tables, can do all the unique stuff. I think what we did there is, they had their own team working on part of the invoice output. We just said, here's the application builder, here's where the data's at, and they just pulled the data and put it on the report, how they wanted it from there. Yes?
I think, Jamie, in your slide, you showed that you're currently using 8.9 for EnterpriseOne. What kind of work are you guys have to do together when you want to go to 9.1?
Actually, with our tool, we have to validate the tool with every new release.
Right.
So what we do is on our server, we have it as a development partner with Oracle. We already have it on our box, and we already have it validated and tested. So when they get ready to go, they do their normal projects, do their update. We provide the update for anything that's built in our tool, and it's just like an ESU type thing. They load any changes that we might have to make it work with that new release. They're provided that as part of their maintenance, and there's not really anything to do for them. If there's any issues with it, we fix that as part of their maintenance. There's nothing they have to worry with that. We kind of try to take that burden off of you as the customer. We don't have to worry about making sure this is going to work on the next release. Out there, we give you that support level. You have Drew in the back. He's head of our support team. It all comes to Drew. He gets it. He routes it to an agent that can actually, just like you would on your Oracle page. You go in, you issue a ticket. You can email issues in. Questions. We do a lot of questions with formulas that with some of Jamie's group, one of the guys will go through and, hey, we got this new formula we want to create. This is how I think it should be done. Does this look right? And so we'll respond back to them and say, no, it needs to be this way, or yes, that looks good. And they ask the questions through the ticket system that way. So we give you a lot of hand-holding through that process. Yes?
You talked about this as kind of like in a UDC table or something, so is one of the objects that comes in that part file then a table then?
Yes.
Okay, and then you talked about setting it all up in test, then you just, when you're ready to go to production, you just copy those specific records from the table into the table in production?
Yes.
Is that how you promote it?
Yeah, that's how we promote it now. Just a copy over in there, and then again, you can